Hello, hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate and Stuff, podcast where we dive deep into the world of real estate investing and the random stuff that makes life interesting. I'm John Whitfield, joined by my co-host Carlos Zamora from InvestViews and Carrot, and Brandon, who probably can't hear us because he doesn't have his headphones on.
I can hear everything.
He has eyes everywhere. He has ears everywhere. I think we know that.
Intense subs. How you doing, gents?
Good. Rainy, stormy day. I kind of nice little break from the heat.
Jealous. We need some rain up here. Has it been super dry in Lakeland too? No.
Humid as fuck, John.
We've been like the north part of Florida has been missing a lot of the rain in the last month.
I tell you what, it's been wetter down here than a Tijuana stripper.
Well, this week, Carlos and I had a very interesting phone call. I'm going to give some background without trying to be too specific. Got introduced to this guy.
Oh, shit. I don't know where this is going.
Got introduced to this guy because he made a new landing page for Nick Perry. And
I think I know who you're talking about.
So I just got pulled in to to integrate the landing page into Nick Perry's ad UTM tracking and into his investor view space. And so I get on this phone call with these guys. It's him and the guy that handles the back end of the website stuff. And so do you guys use investor views? And he's like, yeah, we use investor views, have for a long time, but I have been trying out Resimply, and I really think Resimply is going to win. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Why do you think that? And so he starts walking through these reasons. And then halfway through the conversation, I was able to drop the line, yeah, because I'm the founder of Investor Views. And he stops in his tracks and he's like, wait, what? I was like, yeah. He just thought I was some dude working for Nick, doing integrations. And so we got to chatting. And so long story short, we were doing some phone calls. It's kind of interesting. They have not utilized many of the features inside of Investor Views. And so they're excited about what's in Resimply, and everything that he told me that he's excited about in Resimply, we have. And so there's some education needed there to kind of help them, better utilize Investor Views. And they're excited to connect with us on that. They're excited about the new AI features that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. But then we started talking just from what he's doing. So their business is very big. They're trying to get to $1 million a month, and they're not too far off of $1 million a month in profit.
The person,
or not profit, in assignment fees.
The person who's doing the landing page for Nick.
Yeah. And so what he did is he's been scaling his wholesaling operation. Now he has somebody over there that kind of runs that. And what he's focusing on is building an ad agency, because he's gotten really, really good at PPC ads. But his ad agency is very much focused on top end wholesalers, people who are willing to drop $50K a month in PPC budgets.
How many of them are there? 100, 200? It's not a very big market, right?
No, it's not. I mean, I think he said he has
18.
20 clients, right? 18, 20 clients right now. He's not been focused on marketing. What he's really focused on is just kind of dialing in his services. He doesn't charge a huge fee at all for the amount of volume he's doing, because he wants the data. So he's really more of a collaboration with everybody. It's we're all kind of coming together, and from this data that we're all kind of providing together, we're able to create, better performing, ads. But he really started to get into this because we were oh my God, finally somebody who knows what they're doing in the ad space. Because everybody asks us who should I use for PPC? Who's a good vendor? And we know some vendors out there, and overall they're fine. Some people love them. There's the people that don't try long enough or have a big enough budget and don't get the results that they want.
Usually comes down to budget, bro. They usually burn through budget within 60 days and can't go the full Monty.
Yeah, we talked about it, right? You got to have that cycle of bring in the lead, convert the lead, close the deal, get the profit, reinvest. Yeah. And if you don't have the budget, the cycle can't repeat.
You need the overhead too. You need the overhead for the cycle.
Yeah. But it was really interesting just to hear his mindset, and it was kind of refreshing, honestly. We've talked about the wholesale space consolidating. These bigger players are going to get bigger. The barrier to entry is going to get larger, so less people will come into kind of the investing wholesaling space. So it was refreshing to hear his perspective on like, I'm going after these top people. Those are really the only people I want. Like, he's not interested in signing up anybody who can spend, what did he say, less than 10K a month? I think
That's the minimum. That's the minimum of what he'd want somebody to be spending a month, 10K. And I think his one thing I did not ask him is if his management fee scales up, which I'm assuming it does with how much they're spending. It's 2K. He said 2K month management.
700K a month in profit. Why does he want to do this?
Because he likes it. And the thing too is like, he can use that data set that he is compiling from all of his clients on his own ads and keep scaling his own wholesaling business to that $1 million a month. Because he's making the best custom audience you possibly could at large scale with minimum number of clients. And I think he just enjoys like making good ads, playing the game.
Yeah.
And so if he was to attempt to do this by himself without like bringing in more people who are spending the same amount of money as he would, it would take 10 times, 5 times longer to get to that data set that he, is ideally using to power his custom audiences and his ads. But the perspective was really interesting. And it kind of like made me think, and this is like theory has been populating in my head for a long time of like, what would a CRM Can a CRM tailor towards these high-end clients?
Yeah.
Can a CRM charge a higher price to these types of clients? Or will a CRM always be, just a commodity that can't scale its price for people?
I think you could make that argument before Salesforce came along. I think Salesforce has proven Salesforce is the ultimate tool, right? Like it transcends verticals.
It does transcend verticals, but if you look at the price of Salesforce, what is it, $50 a user?
Whoa. I thought you just said top tier. Because top tier people don't care about price.
Right. And that's my point, though, is like,
it doesn't matter. It could be the most expensive thing in the world. And if you're making 700K a month, bro, if you charge me 20K a month for my CRM, as long as my percentages of operating expenses, and you assume this guy's running before salaries and everything, just say like 18 to 20%. He's spending 120, 40K on overhead expenses from office to software. You know what I mean? Utility, like all of that stuff. I would imagine.
What does the CRM have to charge that price? Like how?
It needs to. So like if I was spending that much, and it's what Salesforce offers. And it reminds me of like someone I know, like what they do in software where it's very hands-on. So but basically what I'm getting at is customer service. Yeah. I was reading this thing yesterday where it was a couple days ago actually, where they were talking about high-end customers, and it was in the trades. And one thing about people with money is we don't care about cost. What we care about is, will you or it do what you say you're going to do on time and make my life easy? Because you're so high value and making so much money, you have about 100 other problems that you have to deal with. You're willing to spend the money for this A or B thing not to be another problem. So the customer service, the talking to the owner, or having your own custom team, like where I don't need to be the one coming up with the idea. And I say, hey, like I would love to be able to track square footage and this, and I want it to be exported into this. I come up with the idea, somebody else does it. Not that I pay, but that's included in my CRM, like the top end ones.
Yes. That's where my mind keeps going, because
it has nothing to do with features, but has to do with the service with it.
I have this relationship with a couple of clients. So Nick Perry is probably the easiest one. I meet with them every single week. They have a direct line to like message me, and we do like build things that solve their problems. Everybody gets to benefit from the features that they build if they're on the right plan, kind of deal. But like they view me as a resource, like an extended part of their team.
Probably why they haven't switched softwares. to be honest.
Right. No, absolutely. 100% the reason why they haven't switched softwares. And we have that with a couple of other people.
I mean, you had it with me.
I had it with you. Yep. Had it with you
when
you were doing wholesaling.
That's how we've kept VP on the podcast.
Yep. There's a team in Maryland who has that same access. Another one. And this guy Joe now is about to get it. So I'm like, okay, how do I formulate this?
It's not just about the service. It is about the flexibility of the tech stack in itself. Because if I tell you I want a dialer or I want X, Y, and Z, I need a yes. I don't need a no. I need a yes, or I need another solution to that, right? Like somehow your software has to be robust enough to either handle integrations or the ability to bolt on something or to build something internally. And I'll stick with you.
Yep.
I mean,
yep, that's what Nick's doing right now. So he's trying out 3 different AI voice companies. Like we know Resimply is coming out with voice capabilities. There's other services out there that offer it. He wants to try 3 different ones. We're integrating with all of them. So he can test them out on different leads and then choose the one that he wants. And then that's be the one that we kind of build like a more permanent integration with.
Yeah.
How much can I charge for that?
Kind of like we did for smartphone when I wanted a smartphone.
The dialer.
Yeah, I mean, I came to you and I was like, I need a dialer and I need it on my thing and I need it like integrated, and you did that. I mean, but to me, that stopped me from. I mean, I know you and I had a relationship, but like at the same point, it stopped me from looking at Resimply because they had a dialer built in. Even back then, they had a basic dialer, but that to me was of value. And I think that's all people want. And that's why you have those relationships with people. Now, the difference between that and like a Salesforce. So you could promise me everything in saying, Brandon, I will do A, B, and C. And I can make A, B, and C. And that's fine because I trust you, know you, like you. Nick, too, knew you from long before all this, right? Like back in the day, Podio. But where Salesforce comes in is they don't need to make the promises. You see all of those things. Like it's like a candy store. You're like, I can have any of this if I pay this tier with this customer service tier, and then those people will build and make and combine. And so like there's 2 categories to it. Is aside from customer service and the value, it is either it's existing or I can make it exist for you.
And so you've never tried Salesforce, but Carlos and I have spoken to many people that have tried Salesforce.
I hear a lot of complaints about it.
Yeah, it has those things. It has those things. Yeah, it has those people that you can go hire. But we've heard of people spending, like they buy Left Main, right? Which is on top of Salesforce. And then they can spend an extra, I think we've heard a bill all the way up to 100K, right? Building out stuff like that.
I don't give a shit.
Right.
John,
and so I'm like,
know how much I spent building out softwares to help me. I mean, if you're making, again, you're talking top tier. You're not talking about the guy making $250K a month minus expenses or top line revenue. Like you're talking about like $500,000, $750,000, $1 million a month, $100K budget to build out that to them is again. I think we're mixing mentalities of the person complaining about spending $100K. When we talked to Eric Brewer, and he was talking roughly about like how much he spent building out his stuff, it wasn't.
That's where the 100K came from, I think. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, we've talked to quite a few. All I was saying was the connotation or the tonality that he had was not of regret or upset. It was of necessity, and I did what I had to do, and I'm making a fuck. Like, he didn't say that, but it was like I'm making a fucking ton of money. Like this is what I did. And like, I had to. It was so there's a different mentality. Whereas when you talk to people spending $500 a month on a CRM, they act like it's like this is bankrupting me.
Right. Going from 179 to 350.
Yeah, and
247 to 377.
And they're like, there's a software that I want for my mobile home park business, right? And it's like 400, and we'll round up and say $500 a month. But like to me, that's really expensive right now. And all the guys have it, but I just don't have enough units or cap stack to make that make sense. And like I need another park or two to add this software on to make it so I'm not like really stressed about it. Right. But like, and there's guys that pay that and then like the features on top of it. And to them, well, guess what? When you're raising 50, 60, 70 million dollars and you own 30, 40 parks, that's nothing. But for a guy like me, I'm in that lower value tier right now. And that's, I mean, it all comes down to like where you're at in the business. So John, I don't think it's any features. I think it just comes down to the value, the customer service, and then will you, or do you have it? If you don't have it, are you willing to do it for me? And I think you or Carrot, not Carrot as in the CRM because I can't, or Carrot as in the website because I can't speak to that, but I can speak to their CRM software and what you've done. I mean, you've proven that InvestorFuse is able to adapt and build on what missing features they have, or what features they're missing.
Yeah.
So, but Simply is like an all in a box type of thing. I don't know the owner.
That's their whole positioning is all in one.
Yeah, I don't
and
like.
And that's I was like, that's what I'm curious, John, as you're saying this. I've heard Trevor talk a little bit, and I think it's been publicly on either Facebook or whatever. But like, kind of our positioning, being the best, potentially a positioning statement of being the best CRM for inbound marketers. And if that's the case, we go upstream for people like this, charge whatever, 1,000, 1,500, 2K a month. And it has all the UTM parameters, Google, every single thing that just feeds in real time on top of just being a simple acquisition tool.
I don't know if you would do that though.
I don't know if we would either.
I don't know if it's worth it. Yeah.
What do you mean? What's not worth it?
So like, you have an avatar, and to bolt on another avatar, it's like, so when Toyota wanted to bolt on another avatar, they just created another brand, Lexus, right? It's a completely, but a lot, even though like a Lexus 470 is the same as a Land Cruiser, when you get into the 470, automatic wood grain trims, it's the same engine, the same chassis, the same body style, but it's just a different brand with extra features. It's like you're still InvestorFuse, and you're still, I'm making this up, I don't know the pricing, $299, $399, whatever a month. To say that you're going to go upstream now almost means two things. Like, if as a business owner, I'm thinking, okay, I need to either rebrand, or I need to abandon my current customer base and refocus, or if I rebrand or come up with a second brand, I need to bolt on all new team, because I can't give the value that I want to these people without its own dedicated coders. Mm-hmm. You can't have, fucking Samir, I was trying to come up with a name without being racist. I was like, what nationality do I go with? Yeah, I paused because I'm like, fuck, what kind of name do I give this coder without being completely fucking stereotyped? And I came up with Samir. I was like, that guy sounds like he's gonna hop on a plane and blow it up. Like, what the fuck? I came up with the wrong name, but what I'm getting at is like, you need to have like, and so now you're almost running another business within a business, because you can't have coder A coding for your $399 software and also have him moonlighting for a Nick Perry because here's the value thing. Like, for me, I want it now. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to tell me I'm going to have it in 3 months. 3 months, is 3 months is $2.1 million that you cost me. If I'm making $700K a month. So like, I want my own coders, not my own, but like this tier of coders. And like, you have to ask yourself, how much more are you going to make versus the salaries and the time and the processes to do that? Again, either that or you abandon the low tier. Like that guy the example, he's not going low tier. He's abandoning low tier or not even accepting it and just saying, I'm focusing on quality and that's it. Like Lamborghini's like, this is it. I don't have a fucking donkey brand, They're like, I got the fucking I'm the Lambo. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Those people in Salesforce, though, they hire for it to actually work. They hire like you can get like a Salesforce like admin that does a lot of like the upkeep and
they are paying left main, whatever it is, $50 a user. And then, they're paying for any like additional plugins and add-ons they have. And then, they
pay for
on their own hiring a sales.
Like we used to for Podio.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like a consultant that comes in.
Yeah, but that's not what you told me. You want like white glove, or what do you call it? Like the golden glove type of service. Like,
I think for brand recognition, I feel like it makes sense. So there's, I've had this interesting idea in my head of, okay, like, so we have got Carrot CRM and InvestorFuse right now. They're the exact same code bases. One's orange, one's blue. What if Carrot CRM is the only place that you can get low price tiers and InvestorFuse becomes the branded enterprise software? Not available to purchase at lower tiers. You can only purchase it at a higher price point. Yes, we would have to scale the teams, so that there's a
So
team focused on the white glove and
Is
then
that an
there's a team
option?
focused on the other
yeah,
ones.
but again, I think
In my head,
if
it's an option.
I think if you look at real enterprise software, they're not doing what Salesforce is doing. Like real enterprise software is when you create a software for an enterprise, you get lifetime customer support with meetings with the dev staff, updates, all that. Again, like how much are you charging? But okay, so I know someone who does that, and you're talking $1 million contracts for these things.
Obviously, we're not
like
doing $1 million contracts.
Yeah, like these things, and they're always like.
But I want to, like, to call it enterprise in the wholesaling space. I feel like would be interesting. Like, obviously, it's not enterprise.
But again, it is, because you're not talking about small businesses here.
No, I know.
You're talking about $5 to $12 million a year enterprises. Like they're legitimate. Like I don't know the percentages here, but they're in the top. Got to be 5% of businesses, like
Easily.
small businesses, right? Like they're legit.
But here's the interesting thing, right? So my agreement with Nick Perry is this: I will build things that he asks me for, but the entire customer base gets them. So you're thinking in the enterprise space, we would have to say, like, Brandon comes to me, he's paying me whatever, $20K a month. The things that I build for Brandon are for Brandon only, and nobody else gets them, right?
I don't give a shit.
So that would be the intriguing part, is like, okay, we can charge a lot of money, we'll build this for them, but it could still parlay into the plans that we're selling to, you know, the regular folk.
I don't know. I mean, I again go back to, you're building a whole other business.
I know. But is that not the path that we should be considering in this space? Or as a business owners, the path that we should be looking at is, how do we take the core functionality of a good CRM like InvestorFuse and make it applicable to other markets?
Yeah. If it was my business, knowing where this stuff is going, I think I would have two choices. One, either I'm abandoning my model and I'm going strictly high end, and I'm the Gucci, I'm the Lambo, I'm the Ferrari, and I am the best for high end enterprise because I've proven I can do that with Nick Perry, right? Like I've proven I did it with Brandon, I did it with Nick, and all the other big players. And I was nowhere ever in the category of Nick. So please don't think I was ever trying to be in that category. But you know, you've proven it. Or you say and that's saying, so there's two things we talk about. It's becoming more condensed, as in the players, and the bigger players will win. But the other thing we've talked about is it's becoming a wider type of enterprise, where instead of wholesaling, you're novating, you're sub-2ing, you're creative, you're taking down deals, wholetailing, you're flipping. You find other ways to make money. So either you're going after that, or you're going after, you know what I mean? Like,
well, the experience I've been having is the people that are condensing are doing that as well.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm talking about, what ones are you going after? You can't stay going after the mid-tier and low tier, just wholesaling. You would have to go after mid-tier, low tier by expanding. And if any of the high value guys want to stay with you, fine, you know. But if you're going high value, you got to get rid of the mid and low and just go with these guys and focus your whole business on it. I think trying to do two things is you're literally bolting on a whole other business, more employees. I mean, it's just everything. It's like, why would I do that? I mean, I've made so much money here and I can make more doing that. Like, yeah, you could potentially go after people and add different features in, like flip cost estimators. You know what I mean? Like all these different things, like using AI to calculate the budget, upload photos, and here's all. Like I do it all the time, dude, for my truck, for mobile homes. Like I'll load, like me and ChatGPT, I'll load stuff in and train it. And it's giving me like, okay, here's what you're going to need. Here's what you're going to need. And here's what I usually do in a mobile home. Mm-hmm. You know, here's this problem. And what if you did that? And you're like, okay. And you start training it. So all I'm getting at, right, is I think you pick either or. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a market for both. Like it's
for sure.
I think there's a market for both. But the question is like, Because if you go high value, you're now competing. And like anybody, Salesforce, I don't know the names. Anybody who wants to option. Anybody who wants to be in that high value game, and for high value people, it's focus. So are you focused on me or are you focused on something else? And if you're focused on me, then I want all your attention and I'm willing to pay you $50K a month. Like I don't fucking care. $50K a month. That's probably a bit much, but I don't know. What would somebody spend?
I mean, those Salesforce admins are expensive. I'd say you're looking, if you're like truly like signing a long-term contract, 20 to 50K a month easily.
And last time I checked, the Salesforce, at least the left main skin, they that you sign a 2-year contract up front.
Yeah.
They really get their talons in you.
So, but
it's interesting to think though.
The thing is like, I honestly think you would stay. I think you'd stay in the low and mid tier, and here's the reason thinking: is you have a funnel from Carrot, right? But on top of that, real estate will always be around, no matter what. And there's always going to be the medium and the small players, and they're always going to be in single family. So, I have my feelings about single family and all that, right? But at the same point, there's a reason why it's the easiest entrant into real estate, right? Like duplexes is they're down the road. You use the same realtor. Your local bank will finance it. A hard money guy understands it. Local private lenders, they all understand it. So like you're talking about longevity of your company versus rebuilding. It's like you're starting from scratch to go into this high end, assuming that wholesaling as we know it sticks around and these guys don't get crushed. Or Nick one day, and I'm waiting for the day it happens, Nick wakes up and says, why the fuck? I'm 40 years old. Why am I still running a Nick? What bothers me about somebody like Nick is, and I get he's highly successful with his personality, his drive, his ability to build a team. He could literally be in any fucking industry that has a lot more longevity than wholesaling and probably make even more money. But I go back to it, and I would argue this to him directly. He's addicted to wholesaling because he has the fame, he has the customer base, he has what he has, and he's making such good money. It's like being in a $200K a year corporate job. It's enough to keep you chained to the desk. Not enough to give you freedom, but enough to make you want to keep coming back for more.
I don't know. The amount of times he takes a phone call in the car, I think he has got a pretty good amount of freedom.
Well, again, freedom is defined by like the different tiers. I know. Freedom for a corporate guy is different than freedom at making, I don't know what he makes, $7-8 million a year. But with his skill, you're telling me he couldn't be in another industry making 30, 40, 50 mil that has a wider base? I think he would have what it takes. So, like, again, going back to it, aside from talking about somebody that's not on the show, but like, how long do you have those high value guys? Because in my mind, everybody in wholesaling will teeter out and go somewhere else eventually. You're not talking about lifelong customers. Eventually, those guys, they're all going to come to the same realization.
Well, I mean, my long-term vision for Carrot CRM InvestorFuse is that it can adapt to other verticals, and if what he's good at is sales, then that would.
You're saying he would take your software into another vertical. I can't speak to that because I don't know anything about what it would take to be.
For him, I think he's different than some of the high level people because he started getting into oil and gas a few years ago. So he spends a lot of time in oil and gas, which to your point is a tried and tested.
Those are some juicy returns. I was talking to a guy about it. I was like, I'm not there yet. I'm running my mobile. I don't ever want to run oil and gas, but would I invest passively? One of my passive investors in one of my parks, he was in it, and he had one deal that went bad many years ago, but he was talking about the ones that are doing good.
Did I ever tell you guys about the Bitcoin guy from the oil and gas industry?
No.
We were at this like house party, and the guy was like, yeah, my cousin from Colorado is here, and he's got like a sicked out like travel van, like single guy, just in one of those like Sprinter vans, like totally decked out. And so I was like, oh, I want to see that, right? And so he showed us the van. I was like, man, what do you do? Because he showed it, and he has this like table, and out pops like this giant like monitor and computer. And I was like, okay, this guy does something in the computer industry. He works with a company, and he's the coding aspect of it that takes energy by like byproducts from oil and gas and puts it into a shipping container that runs Bitcoin farms. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so they'd find these people that like have this energy, and they'd say, hey, no cost to you, we'll split the Bitcoin profits. We just need like to install this here and use your energy. I don't know what energy it was that was coming off of it, but something that they were converting into powering the Bitcoin rig. It was a pretty interesting business model.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but Nick's not in oil and gas, from my understanding, and for the guy that he's more of a passive investor in it.
Yeah, he is.
I'm just saying, and I'm not speaking about Nick specifically. It's just anybody at that level. You have two choices: either you own it and you're the dude. I always look back at things and like when I'm now 40. But like when I'm 50 or 60, do I want to be the guy running this business? Do I see myself at 50, 60 saying I own this business, this is who I am, my identity at that age, and like who do I see myself as? I think a lot of guys come to that and they're going to be like, couldn't Nick make the same argument at you about your now chosen industry? I'm glad you said that. I had this realization. I'm not
right now you're in it, but you're hoping to remove yourself from it.
But I'm not. So Nick is not in wholesaling. Nick is in sales. I'm not in mobile home parks. I'm in capital raising. So like I thought of that, and I was really, because you have your moments of like what you do as an entrepreneur, like what am I spending my free time on, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I could become the wealthiest people in the world are in the capital raising business. Blackstone is not in the single family space or the stock space. They're in the capital raising space.
Okay.
And then what they do with that money is up to them, and then they hire. So that's kind of like where I would make that argument with you and rebut against you and be like, no, like, I mean, mobile.
So you could say that you and Nick could both get to the same point where you have more freedom, but you're saying your chosen
I'll make more money. I'll make more money.
More chance to make money
because there is no greater way. Like I've done the math, and that's why I made the change. Nick would never be. He can beat me today, but he could not catch up to me once, because every single person that invests with me starts to snowball into my next investment. And every 5 years, when I return investor capital, if I've succeeded or when I've succeeded, they will not only want to keep investing each year, but on that year 5, they need to place that money again. And if I've done my job good. So once you start having these, it snowballs to a point to where you start, okay, so let's just say, you get to that point where you own $1 billion in assets. Like I know a guy who started in mobile home parks in 2020, and he was great at capital raising. And he owns over $100 million a park in about 4 to 5 years. Okay. Well, let's just say you own 30% of each one, or 15%. How many
parks is that? 100 million.
He owns like 42 parks, and 100 million's on the light end. I think it's a lot more than that now. But anyway, let's just say you own 20% of it, right? I mean, dude, now you're worth 20 million. But once you're at that point, right, it's like making your first 100K is the hardest. Once you make your first 100K, the next ones just multiply. Once you make your first million, it multiplies. Same thing. Once you raise your first $100 million in capital, all those people. What I've learned in capital raising is it has nothing to do with the deal. It has nothing to do with the investor. As in the passive investor, what it has to do is, I really want to place my money, and I know I need to do something, but I'm so afraid of getting ripped off and stolen from that I just don't know who to trust. And I'd rather say no to this investment and not get ripped off and not lose my nest egg, or, not waste the time and the stress if I'm rich of like worrying about this guy. But once I know I got my guy, I know I need to work my money, and this guy's worked my money. That's what I've learned over these last 2 years. It has less to do with the opportunity, and like it has more to do with once they find a guy, they want to just keep going because they know they need to place their money and they don't know what to do. And I've heard so many horror stories. Moral of the story is like Nick would have to sell quite a bit. So not only do I get equity, but I'm also getting paid on the property. I can make money in different ways from managing the park. So like I thought about it, I was like, because Cody Sanchez says being in real estate is the worst way to become wealthy.
That's kind of funny.
And I thought about it and I was like, that's true.
To become wealthy.
To be wealthy, to be rich, whatever you want to say. And I was like, and she was giving examples of buying a business and, you know, and all that. And I was like, well, that's true. She's like, well, you're going to spend $400K on a house and you're going to make like $200, $300, $400 in cash flow every month. That's a lot of risk for such a little return.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, that's right. Like, well, what am I doing? I'm like, well, I'm not in real estate. I own a park. A park's a business. I have top line expenses. I was like, well, I run a bunch of mini businesses. If I add that all together, I said, so what business am I in? And I was like, well, I'm not in the real estate business. I'm really in the capital raising business because the more capital I raise, the more equity I get, the more property management fees. I was like, well, maybe I'm in the property management business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, because that only exists off my capital raising. I said, so really, I'm just a fucking capital raiser who happened to put the infrastructure in to be able to do with the money. It's like I could be the drug manufacturer, but if I don't have a way to distribute the drugs, I'm watching Breaking Bad right now. So if I can distribute my meth, like I could be the worst cook in the world. Like it doesn't matter how good of a cook I am. So that's essentially what I'm saying is like I raise the capital, I have the property management, and then the asset, the mobile home parks. So why wouldn't Nick, if he's that good of a salesperson, find the commercial assets, raise the capital? He's got the fame. He would make so much more money. It's because he's making such more than good money. He's making such great riches that it is really hard to say.
Well, I
don't know
but he invests his money.
Yeah. So
isn't that the same thing as capital? Like it's the same byproduct as capital raising?
If I was going to put in the same amount of time, it's a byproduct.
Right.
So,
it's not the whole thing, but it is a byproduct. Yeah.
Well, let's just say it's a byproduct of the bottom of the funnel, and the top of the funnel is my business. Well, if I switch my business, if I put the same effort into a business that provides a bigger byproduct, a larger byproduct, then I can reinvest that too. So why would I want a smaller byproduct than I'm reinvesting when I could put it's the Hormozy thing. Like if I put in the same amount of hours, why wouldn't I want to do the thing that I am most valuable for?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and I don't personally think wholesaling real estate is what some of these guys could be best at. I think no one else would trust them. There was a higher barrier to entries. This had the lowest barrier to entry for their skill set. And for, like being an unknown and untrusted business owner, like what else are you going to do? They come into wholesaling, they hone their business skills, they build their teams. Like it was a great thing to do. And they have proven themselves. But like, could you do something more with that?
Potentially. Yeah. Let's go with yes. We've talked about the stepping stones before. How did we get on this topic? I don't remember how we got here.
Be real estate, bro. Like,
we got on this topic from serving either higher level CRM needs folks.
Oh yeah, and then
expanding to other
Nick
verticals.
Perry should do something.
I know. Nick's like never even. He's like watching our show, and he's like, "Why do they keep talking about me?" Like, bro,
I took that quote down. BP: the wealthiest people in the world are in the capital raising space. I like
they
that.
really are.
Yeah.
I have some of my money. Like my money that my byproduct goes back into reinvesting in my business, not into my assets, right? So like I hire more in property management softwares, all these different expenses. But like, if you look at think about, okay, what about Jeff Bezos? Yeah, he's got Amazon, but Amazon would have been dead if it wasn't for capital raising. He owns 10% of Amazon.
I think it's less than that, isn't it?
Maybe now. Yeah. Look at, Elon Musk. To buy Twitter, he had to raise $40 billion.
Mm-hmm. But that's, yeah. We could just go in loops talking about this.
Yeah, but anyway, the oil and gas stuff, like I think about that, Carlos, and it's like I'm in mobile home parks. Like you got to focus on something. But
Can't do everything.
Yeah, and I was like, once I started learning about it, like not even learning, but hearing about it, I'm like, shit, like.
Oh yeah, you were there for that pitch the Knicks guy was giving at that one match.
That was 4 years ago before it became. I mean, it's always obviously oil and gas has always been a thing, but before it hit this crowd, I heard it first, and I was like, "This is pretty." I just didn't trust that. I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw him.
Yeah,
I know that personality type, and I don't like that personality type. No, I don't know him personally. You know, I've only met him, listened to him, and I'll stereotype it and say my money is better not over there. Maybe he succeeds. I have no idea. Maybe he doesn't, but.
The Breaking Bad spinoff, instead of cooking meth in a RV, a guy starts a virtual wholesaling operation out of an RV.
Yeah.
See if you can make the same returns out of working remote.
Funny. But like you get farther on other people's money than you do on your own money.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that how the United States is?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I was talking to my daughter about it last night, and I was trying to explain debt of our country and like all these things that everyone's so upset we keep canceling. I'm like, let me ask you something. Would you go to Starbucks if you had no money in your bank account and you had to go to a loan shark to take out a loan to buy your Starbucks? Would you do that? And she was like, no. And I said, okay, if you have only $1 to your name and you got to pay your rent and there's a homeless guy in the street, will you give him the $1? And she was like, no, I got to pay my rent. I said, okay, so you're not going to go into debt because you have these like main things. Like you're not going to go into debt for helping the homeless, buying food. I said, those are luxuries. I said, so then why should our country go and borrow from China every single month or year to pay for all these things? They're great to do, but shouldn't we be making money first and then we do those things? And it's just a different way of looking at it. It's like, but yeah, the U.S. has definitely gotten bloated on other people's money.
Mm-hmm.
But think about that. Would Blackstone ever get away with that? Would Blackstone be able to keep raising money if their P&L showed that they were legitimately... It's a giant Ponzi scheme. The United States is a giant fucking... It is Bernie Madoff with a red, white, and blue wrapped around it. Every year we borrow money to pay somebody back to just keep going. It is the Bernie Madoff all over again, and everyone's like, it's okay because we're the fucking U.S. and like let's just keep spending money. But there's no business that would ever get away with this. We'd be in jail. We'd be in a white collar fucking prison.
Yeah.
Although I've heard stories about those prisons, they don't seem bad. Do you ever read the Wolf of Wall Street book?
No.
And he describes like prison, like the prison he went to. It's like a fucking country club.
What? How did he get that gig?
It's like I don't actually know the answer, but I'm assuming when you have enough money, and
you can pay somebody to have a better prison time.
The prison that you go to in those scenarios is like there's no fences, gates. Like you're just. I mean, he was hanging out with Tommy Chong. Like they have sports and activities, and like it's like a country club.
I wonder if it was because he was corroborating with the informing of other people.
Was he?
Yeah, he was.
I mean, I haven't read that book in so long. I don't know.
Just from the movie, I can't imagine they would say that in the movie.
I've seen him give talks about it.
I haven't seen the movie since it came out.
And so. Grant Cardone, when they beef, that's what he always calls him. He calls him a rat.
Yeah. Oh, does he? Well, my thing about Jordan is like you be the best salesperson in the world, but you're still fucking unethical.
That's what I watched it recently. It's kind of like that. Like I feel like BP would appreciate this. It's kind of like that cool, like, and even speaking. Yeah, if Nick watched this episode, he's like, man, these people talk about me a lot. But even his nickname, we would call him the Wolf. I call him the Wolf of Austin. Like, and he has the poster, which a lot of people have, where it's Jordan Belfort with $1. And that was like the cool thing. Like growing up, you're like, oh, Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah. He's like, gets all these money, gets all these girls. I watched it like probably like around a year ago. And I was like, dude, this guy is just like not ethical. And knowing how he is now, like he has great sales advice, but it's like, dude, he's just whacked out on drugs and like divorced and does all this shit. So, like I was watching, I'm just like,
is that who I want to be?
yeah, I get my body literally just felt. I'm like, oh, dude, this is just not a good. I like Entourage. That's what I'm rewatching. BP, you know that I'm rewatching Entourage with Spanish subtitles. It's like
Ari.
Something I know. Ari Gold is top 5 character in any TV show or movie of all time. That's something
I think people like us who like the Wolf of Wall Street pictures hanging in our office is more about the sales force, the camaraderie, the pep talks, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, how do I take sales advice from a dude who literally was not selling anything, but just like lying and stealing? You weren't really selling shit. You were just anybody can sell something if I lie about what I'm selling.
Right.
Yeah.
You know how easy it would be to raise capital if I fucking lie about my returns and how much I'm making?
Yeah.
All the P&Ls and I fake all the fucking pitch decks and I just give you exactly what you want to see. No shit, I could sell that shit, dude. I'll sell fucking ice to an Eskimo in that case. And he's like, here's how you sell a pen. You didn't sell fucking pens, bro. You sold lies. Like, and so that's where when I hear Grant Cardone ripping on him, is like, yeah, I agree. It's like, dude, like, why would anybody take that guy's sales course?
Because he can sell things.
Yeah, that's the short answer.
Teaching you how to build something you can sell for no money.
It wasn't. I stand by that he didn't sell anything.
I'm not arguing with you, but he still sold.
Yeah, in the definition of sold, you're right. You're right, but not as in the artful negotiation of trying to talk away a bad product into a good product. He literally just was like, "Yeah, it's a bad product. Let me just say it's a good one, and let me lie about all, like, you know, the returns."
Different kind of sales. If your product looks amazing and doesn't exist, it's probably easier to sell than
like the dude, the Build.ai, who had a bunch of Indian coders.
I read that article. I finally
did you? Yeah, it's like I just picture all these fucking dudes just like in this grimy Indian fucking warehouse, just coding away, slaving to try to pretend they're AI, and like the stress of like, oh, I gotta keep typing.
And it was builder.ai. That's why I could never find it. But it popped up on my Instagram feed because, you know, our phones listen to us and provide us the things that we ask for.
Phones 1,000% listen to us. It's scary.
100%. I was looking at
it's
peptides.
Actually scary.
All of a sudden, I'm now getting blasted with peptides. I was looking at RVs, got blasted with RVs. It's just
how'd your RV shopping experience?
Oh, I scooped it.
Yeah, nice, dude.
Gets dropped off on Friday.
Nice.
How much did you get it for?
10.8.
Nice. With delivery. Look at you go.
With delivery. So I mean, you know, he had it up for a while, and I think a lot of it had to do, you know, I brought my wife along. I think a lot of it, he owned it. It's a 2013. He bought it in 2014. So he grew up as kids in it. I think a lot of it had to do with it's just one family.
You guys were selling.
Yeah, one family to the next family, and so I'm not going to say I was a good negotiator. Maybe I sold my story good. I said, will you take 10.8? And he says, I don't know. I'd have to ask my wife. And I go, do you want to go ask her? He's like, well, she's asleep. And I was like, so do you want to wait? He goes, well, I guess I can wake her up. And I go, do you want to go do that? He comes back and says, she said it's whatever I want to do. So where do you want to go from here? And he goes, I'm good with it. And I go, okay. And I was really like thinking there was like some catch. And then I go, and so for delivery, he's like, I'll deliver it. I go, and how much do you think? Like $100, $200? He's like, nah, I don't need anything. I was like,
nice.
It's very odd. I've never had
it's nice when like the story
I've never had it. But like, I'm so used to negotiating in like my job that I was thrown back. I'm like, this is not.
Did you guys forget the cash this time?
No, we brought it. So we signed the title. I gave him the cash. He questioned the cash. And he's like, how were you able to get this much money out? And I go, I went to the bank. Like, you see, like, this is how the combo went down. And I'm like, I went to the bank and I asked them for the money. They were able to get that much out. And I go, he's cool. He's a cool dude. But so he sat there and he counted and it took him forever to count.
the money.
Did you deliver it in 20s? Maybe that's why.
Yes, actually.
You was in 20s? Are you serious?
Because I was going to leave this part out, but because when I did go to the bank, they said they couldn't give me the money. So it's funny that he asked me that and I was like, what do you mean? Like, I need this money. Like, I have to go buy something. Apparently, Wells Fargo doesn't keep that much money on deck. Because I was also buying a car, so I was pulling out like 20 some grand. Okay. And they're like, well, we just did our drop, so we might not have the money for another day or so. And I'm like, I need the money. Like, it's my money.
Did you have to come back?
No. So they were able to scrounge up enough, but that is why it was hilarious. In 20s and stuff, and it wasn't in clean hundreds because they had given all their money away. I don't know what they do with it. They send it somewhere.
Yeah, they put it in the Brinks truck.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So I got it, but yeah, it was all like 20s. And there was no hundreds. It was all 20s and 50s. So he's like counting out on the counter in the RV. But so pretty stoked about it. Gonna come here. And
what size is it?
It's a 32-foot bumper pool. So I opted for the bumper instead of the fifth wheel because driving up to Georgia to get the Lexus I was watching everybody towing. Like my RAS Carlos was like on full effect. All I was seeing was people towing, and I was watching how fast they were going, how easy. And I was like, man, like these guys on the bumper pools, they're just kind of whipping along. I get it, but the fifth wheel seems so large, behemoth behind them. And so I opted for it's a 2013 Keystone Passport, 32-foot with a bunkhouse slide out, mint condition. The one owner pretty much. He took care of this thing like it was his fucking baby. Told me about his tooth in the kitchen.
Hang on, I gotta get past this. I'm gonna show you something that popped up in my feed, probably because we've been talking about RVs. Hang on. This cracked me up. I didn't know this thing existed.
What? Oh yeah.
Have you seen this thing? I gotta turn this.
It's like for the back of a wagon, one of those old school wagons.
It's back of a Beetle, but the hook is on the roof.
Yeah.
You can 360 drive the car.
You've seen this because it seems to be the only evidence we have that this trailer ever existed is this YouTube video.
I've seen that.
Whether this trailer was a prototype,
it's like this sounds genius because like that's my number one worry about. The only thing that most people can agree on
is that they have never seen
before. This sounds like the dumb person's.
So the fifth wheel gives you that type of flexibility, but
right.
But here's the thing: is like now I can bumper pull. My truck's capable of that, but now I get my full bed access. And ultimately, as a family guy, whenever I want to buy like a legit one, I'm going motorhome, baby. Like,
oh yeah, that's what I want to do.
Ways. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing like having your wife make you some food while you're driving, sitting in traffic, and your kids going to the bathroom and the toilet, and not worrying about like I got to pull off or they got
that one that you showed me that's like built off of like almost a semi truck.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You can get those for about $150 on Facebook. They're like $250, $300 brand new, but you could get like and the thing is people drive them like 1 to 2 times and like they got like 20, 30K, but the engine's meant to go for like 500,000, 1 million miles because it's a Peterbilt.
Yeah.
And like these old people barely fucking drive them. And it's like, so yeah, and people don't want to buy them. And I'm like, I'm going to buy it. So anyway, long story short, scooped it, got a great deal. I mean, he was at.
How many beds is it?
So it's got 3 bunks in the back, a king, and then
3 bunks. That's cool.
Yeah, and then it's got an outdoor kitchen. So
nice,
it'd be nice.
That's legit.
Y'all just send us some pictures.
So the electrician's going to hook up some amperage.
Are you going to park it at the house?
Yes, but I was talking about the park. I'm going to have I'm going to have my electrician go out and put in some RV hookups. Have the plumber put a catch in my drain line so I can connect to that. And
you can just gonna leave it there? Is that what you're thinking? You'll leave it there, or no? You'll always drive it back and forth.
The ultimate goal is like the whole plan about the way I position my parks is they're all in a route from Florida all the way up. So like I'm just going from one to the next to the next to the next. My daughter in Auburn, it's a giant fucking loop to loop. So we'll just take my RV, going to a park at a time, or one park here or there, whatever, dude.
Gotta get your Starlink now.
Yeah, that's next on the plate, along with a rear view camera. So,
and you what?
Rear, like a backup camera.
On the back of the RV.
Yeah, because I'm going to be on my own, so I won't have somebody back there guiding me all the time.
Makes sense.
You get the hang of it after a while. I used to do landscaping, and I used to drive a big trailer.
Anyway, so there you go, John.
Well, I get congrats on your purchase.
That's awesome.
I'm done with Facebook. So I retire from Facebook. I bought everything I needed to buy in the last.
Until you get that one.
That's a true sign of wealth. It's a true sign of wealth. People who raise capital and people who can retire off Facebook.
But I got no
indicators of wealth.
You get back to focusing on that next park of yours.
Yep, capital raising. So,
and
you can focusing on expanding investor views into either a luxury brand or a wider horizontal.
So it's an interesting conversation. I think I think maybe my conversation is coming more from like a selfish standpoint of like, what am I good at? Like, I think I could be good at that type of thing. Is it the right business choice though? So
we go back to that conversation,
right? And that's just what's the convo in my head is going like, yeah, could I do that? Absolutely, I could freaking do that really well. Is it the right move though?
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll continue this conversation on another episode.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, I think. I mean, we're chatting a little bit about it here. Maybe there's some kind of like middle ground, or not even middle, but something like a little bit more service orientated for those higher. That's not like $20K a month. Doesn't require a whole separate team kind of deal.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a great week.